Welcome to Out of Bounds.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Out of Bounds. Casey Kendrick along with Tom Dorato. And coming up, we're going to be talking football, not just football, but football.
Are. We're going to be talking that NCAA championship style football with Colin Carmichael, of course, the Cowgirls. Number 3 seed. How about that?
Yeah,
and they open up against South Dakota State. Not San Diego State, South Dakota State on Friday at 7 o'clock right here at Neil Patterson Stadium.
Yeah, Neil Patterson Stadium becomes gets a chance to host for the first time. Now, we've had postseason soccer here before, but not in the new stadium.
That's pretty stout,
which is awesome. That's awesome. I mean, they have had, some really incredible years. And they were the regular season Big 12 champs, lost to eventual champ Kansas in the Big 12 tournament up there in Kansas City. But a good opportunity for the Cowgirls to get things continuing now in the NCAA tournament. That's the more important tournament, and hopefully they'll continue to make progress there. So we'll talk to Colin coming up here in just a little bit.
I think we, even you and I, because it's excellence every year, especially when Karen and Colin got this thing rolling. But check these numbers. I mean, this is the 11th in the last 14 years that Oklahoma State's gone to the NCAA tournament. They first came back in 2003. They made 6 consecutive trips following that, and then back-to-back in 2013, 2016, 17. But, I mean, these are when they don't even win a match sometimes, that's great news. That's huge news. What's wrong? What's happening? But they have been a regular entrant into the NCAA championship for over a decade.
Well, and had it not been for injuries last year, they would have been
Probably
in last year too. So, I mean, that team started 10-1 before they started falling and like flies. I mean,
what
they
a
just
job
had so many.
These guys have done. That whole
Done a great
staff.
job. Yep, and started the program here, and they just continue to elevate. So some great stuff. What a job Coach Gundy has done, top to bottom. When you think about the last decade as well, this year is become more interesting because some of the results that we have seen as of late. We've talked about this. A puncher's chance is what Robert said Oklahoma State has of getting into the Big 12 tournament game. It would take a lot of work, Big 12 championship game. It would take a lot of other things happening. But this league, Tom, is continuing to get just some results that are interesting. The Baylor game was a fantastic game against TCU. The Oklahoma game against Iowa State. Those are your top 2 teams, supposedly. By standings, they are. And yet they're struggling. This league, I've been saying it for a long time now. There's not 5 points difference from the top to the bottom, essentially, in the Big 12.
I would think everybody, including Oklahoma State, who think they have an outside chance of moving into that second spot, would be big Oklahoma fans this week. If Oklahoma can nail Baylor down at Waco and give them a loss, it's a two-way street. Yes, it brings Baylor back a little bit, but it also keeps Oklahoma in the fray, if you will. And then you're chasing 2 teams with 1 loss. Now, you say a puncher's chance. I mean, that's even being gracious on Robert's part. I mean, you got to have a lot of things that you do. You got to win. I mean, but you should. Kansas, West Virginia back-to-back. Then you have Oklahoma with a chance to do something there. But you need some of these other teams that are in the mix, Texas, K-State, Iowa State, to stumble along the way, and then maybe you have a chance.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, there is some scenarios the way this league has gone this year that you could look up and go, okay, I think what you want is Baylor. You want Baylor to win because then Oklahoma has 2 losses in the conference,
correct,
and you play them. So if you have a third loss and they have a third loss, then your head-to-head will directly affect that. You already have the tiebreak against Kansas State and Iowa State.
Yeah, but you don't have it over Texas.
So,
if Texas keeps winning.
Sure, but that's my whole scenario. Is if those 3 teams you just mentioned, you have the tiebreak against Iowa State and Kansas State, and I think Texas is going to lose another one. So maybe 2. So I just think that I think your best route is for Baylor to win against Oklahoma. If Oklahoma beats Baylor, I don't think they're going to have 3 losses, and I don't think Baylor is either. I mean, Baylor's not going to lose the last 3, I don't think.
You wouldn't think.
And so, to me, that's where you got to pull. You got to pull for Baylor to beat OU. Then you got to have a little help with Texas. But those other teams, you're already in the mix on. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. But with this weekend, even though Veterans Day was earlier in the week, the Cowboys are going to be honoring veterans with their uniforms coming up this weekend. And from the press conference this week, Coach Gundy talked about those awesome uniforms.
We released our uniforms last night. I'm sure you guys have all that, which is pretty cool. Nike had asked us to be, or gave us the choice of being one of the schools to represent Folds of Honor and our military, which certainly is a no-brainer for me, as you guys know how I feel about people that are willing to put their life on the line and fight on a daily basis for the freedom in this country. I think it's pretty cool for us to be able to represent them and show them our support. Make a difference if you come from the city, the country, if you're white, black, Democrat, Republican. I think everybody has an obligation to support the people that are willing to go fight for our freedom every day. And I'm a big proponent and strong supporter of our military. So it's an honor for us to be able to wear these uniforms and represent the organizations and the people that are willing to do whatever it takes for the greatest country on earth.
And welcome back. And so obviously, Coach, talking about those new uniforms, which are awesome. And, Coach does a great job when they have that timeout and they honor the military families. The game could be in the throes of wins and losses, doesn't matter. He comes out, always shakes the hand of those that have done that. And it's a nice touch. And, again, it's a week, somewhat of a week after the Veterans Day, but because we had the bye week, Oklahoma State still felt strongly enough to make that happen. I think that's a good thing.
As a veteran, I really appreciate Mike's stance on the military. He's from day one, even back when he wasn't the head coach here, he always made his intentions known about how strong he is supporting the military, supporting what they do for this country, supporting this country. And, some coaches may give lip service to that on 1 week and then you don't hear from him for a year. But as you pointed out, he does this every game. And he goes out there, whether it's a nail biter or we're up by a bunch. But he'll go out there and shake the hands during the game. And Mike is just been, to me, that's one of the things he never gets enough credit for. And maybe there's not a lot of people who out there who care about it. But I guarantee you, those of us who were in the military and our veterans, we appreciate that more than he knows.
He does a great job with that. And I do think a lot of people do recognize that he does that on a weekly basis. Let's talk about Les Miles a little bit. Obviously, Les coming to town. And Les was here for a lot of good years as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach as well, and so a lot of good years here. And you know what? Again, Bob Simmons, in my opinion, cut the initial. He put the first two axe marks in the tree that fell that led Oklahoma State to where it is now. Bob Simmons, I think, really started hammering on that tree, and obviously Mike Gundy's, he took the tree that was laid over and turned it into something. But it started with Bob Simmons, but Les Miles was right there as well and did a great job when he was here.
Well, that's a great point you make. And Bob probably is not the most beloved coach that was ever here, but at the same time, Bob set the thing in motion. And you say, well, it's not all about beating Oklahoma. But let's face it, you can't get where you want to be in this league without beating Oklahoma every year. And Bob did that, and Les did it as well. Took away the fear factor, took away the intimidation, and basically Les, being who he is, just reversed it. Basically, we'll find out which team is which. The famous quote he had. I worked with Les every day, pretty much, through 2001, 2004, as a head coach, and he's got some quirks. He's always a great interview to the fact that what's he going to say and how's he going to say it. And he always called me Tommy. I don't know why, but that's what it was, And if we had an interview to do, Tommy, let's go. But he was calculated in what he did. He's a very calculated person. And we saw his kids grow up when we were doing the TV show. He'd bring those little kids over on a Sunday to do the show. Now they're big kids. I think his daughter works on the staff as I go back on it, and she's grown up now. So looking at Les now, I don't think he's changed a lot. I'm sure he's had to readjust schematically, because they throw the ball all over the lot now. Did they ever throw it at LSU? Maybe once a game.
Yeah,
I'm being
maybe.
facetious
Yeah,
here.
maybe.
But they've got 5 guys, including Puka Williams, the back, with 20 or more receptions. So his offensive coordinator, who he got rid of. I mean, was that unbelievable? He got rid of his offensive coordinator like three or 4 games into the year, brought the analyst up and made him the coordinator. But they do throw it around. But Les is still, talking about military guy, Les is still pretty disciplined in what he does. And I'm so glad to see him back in the league. He's a coach. He needs to be a coach. Kansas is better than they were a year ago. They're not where they need to be to compete in this league.
Sure.
And in this matchup coming up, I'll give you 2 things you need to know. They give up 230 to 5 yards, 235 on the ground per game. Oklahoma State rushes for 270 a game. Worst defense against the rush, best offense with the rush. That's what you're going to see Saturday.
Yeah, and you'll see a team, obviously, and Les Miles is a very smart guy. He'll try to shut down the run, but we'll see how that all plays out. More on that in a minute, but let's go back to Les Miles for just a minute. Coach Gundy talked about the memories of Les Miles having been here and some of the game memories with Les. Kind of a couple of 2-part question here. Here once again is Coach Gundy.
Well, Coach and I have a lot of hours in offensive meeting rooms, particularly when he was the coordinator and I was the coordinator coach. I mean, the quarterback coach, and he was the coordinator. Well, we have a lot of time in there, and I have really good memories of offensive football with him. He and I butted heads a lot, but in the end, we agreed. We came out on the same page. We supported each other, and we were good at it. We were good at moving the football together, and we had a good relationship. And it was unique and a little bit unusual seeing him in Phoenix in May at the Big 12 meetings, but it was fun. It was good to see him and spend time with him. So we have a lot of fond memories in the offensive room. Well, the first year was tough until we went to Norman, and we found a way to win that game, which was awesome. And from that point on, we started to get a little better every year. The second year here, we had a fantastic game plan, and we had really good players that could execute it. And we were able to move the ball pretty much at will in that game. It was a fun game. We beat Nebraska, I think, Robert. And that was a big win for us because wasn't that the first time in a long time? I remember that game as being a special game for Oklahoma State, the fans, the team, and then Coach and I. That was a lot of fun.
So a lot of good memories, and again, it'll be fun having Les here. Fortunately, we've got natural turf, or don't have natural turf, so he won't be eating any grass. Well, he might. I don't know. He might. You never know with Les. But Coach Gundy also gave us a preview, just an overview of what to expect out of this Kansas matchup.
With Kansas, Kansas has done very well offensively in the last few weeks. They've made some adjustments. They're getting good quarterback play. They have fantastic running back play. They've got tall, rangy receivers that can really run, and they're moving the ball and scoring some points. Defensively, they're getting a little bit better each week.
Welcome back. All right, so good stuff there with Coach Gundy, and again, his thoughts on Kansas. We're going to talk more about Kansas and that matchup coming up. But the last thing I want to get, he talks about a lot of things. He talks about his new director of recruiting that he's got still in the
Todd
championship
Bradford.
mix.
Man, he's back.
We kind of talked about that Big 12 standing mix. So some other thoughts from Coach that came out of the media day, the press conference this week. But I want to get to the recruiting portion of this. And Tom, we're going to hear from Coach, but obviously some rules that are out there. What's interesting, it's a limit on the number of recruits you can have in a season.
Correct.
And the reason you want to do that, if you're Kansas or anyone else, is the same reason you want to limit a scholarships period. There's only so many good guys in a single season.
Correct.
If I graduate 35 and I can only go get 20, then next year, guess what? I'm going to have 75. It would be odd, but eventually at some point, it would help the teams that are less talented. And you or somebody said this might have come out of Kansas. Well,
it did come out of Kansas.
I completely understand this line of thought for them, and I also understand Coach Gundy's displeasure with the idea.
Well, there's a proposal that came out of Kansas, and I think it's being furthered by the Big 12, excuse me, and maybe nationally. You can have 30 this year, but you can only have 20 next year. And I think that certainly reflects a school like Kansas who, with less, came in, didn't have as many people. But my feeling, and I agree with Gundy, to me, they're making a lot about nothing. Your bottom line is 85. Okay, you can't have any more than 85. That's what it is. So if you lose for whatever reason, and Gundy went into it, graduation, discipline, portal, to me, if you lose, let's pick up 27. You lose 27 this year. Why shouldn't you be able to go get 27 again and still be on the 85 number? I don't see why we have to beat around the bush on this thing, and that's not only true here, anywhere. Whatever you lose, you should be able to go get.
Well, what's going to be interesting is if you want to go with this idea, you're going to have to, there's going to be an adjustment year somewhere. Let's say, so they say next year, this is it. Well, if you started out with 27 seniors that you try to replace and you only let me go get 20, well, then the next year, eventually, it'll work itself out, but the teams that have huge senior classes in the first year, if this were to move forward, that's the team that's going to feel the biggest hit.
Yeah, I don't know if it will. I mean, I say I don't know. I mean, there've been crazier things that have gone through, and maybe there are more schools out there like that who think, well, I need to get the pantry filled up this year, and then I'll be okay next year. So I can go 30-20 and still end up with it. You only get 50, only 25-25. But to me, a better way of doing this for everybody, again, I think it's pretty simple. I think it's where Gundy's going with this, is whatever you lose this year, it's on you to go get that to replenish. Now, if you don't get that, that's on you, okay?
Sure.
If you lose 27 and you can only bring in and convince 25 to come on, well, that's your problem. But you should be able, in my mind, replenish what you lose and still end up with the 85. And that's the number you're looking at right there. To me, that's the big number.
Now, again, I don't know who orchestrated this. Was this a Jeff Long thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to attribute this to anybody. I'm just saying it came out of Kansas.
Having been at Arkansas and seeing their issues in the SEC, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's part of it. But here's Coach Gundy's thought on this proposed new idea.
With no disrespect, but you guys know how I am, it won't work. They're going to have to go 25-25, okay? So if you have 5 guys leave on the portal, you graduate 22 seniors, you have 2 guys that say, my shoulder's hurt, I don't want to play anymore, and it adds up to 33, you got to be able to bring 33 in. How much movement's on the portal now compared to last year at this time? You guys have I know y'all stole codes to get in the portal, right? You watched the portal. It's a lot, correct? The more people that move on the portal, the more players that move on the portal, you're going to have to be able to replace them. The NCAA is going to have to get it together. Or here's what's going to happen. 85 scholarship limit, teams are going to be playing with 75, 76, 77. So what does that mean? It means more players are going to get injured. Don't have enough guys. So we're trying to be injury preventive, which we should, but we're not fulfilling the needs based on instigating a portal, which is fine. I have no issues with the portal. But we have to be able to balance numbers. I appreciate what they're trying to accomplish. It's not going to work. You're going to take 30 and the next year you get what? Okay, well, what if you have 21 seniors, 3 guys go on the portal, and 2 guys get medically redshirted, and you take 1 guy and dismiss him from the team because he won't stop smoking weed?
All right, so good stuff from Coach Gundy. Just a lot of thoughts there on recruiting, and again, you can see why some of the smaller schools would like it, and some of the better schools and recruiting not going to like that so much. I don't think Coach Carmichael will be for it.
Well, I guess I could ask him whether that kind of a thing, even with his sport, would benefit or hurt you one way or the other.
When you recruit like he does, you want no limits. I'm just guessing.
Well,
you ask him, but
the
I'm
other
guessing.
schools around the country probably want limits because they
On
don't want him bringing all
that's
this stuff in.
exactly right. You kidding me? It
But
goes
yeah,
up
I mean, that's the only way they're going to slow him down.
there. Well, you can't.
Put limits on Carmichael and what he can recruit and who he can bring in.
Just like Skip said about me, you can't stop him.
Oh,
you can only
I don't know
hope
if he
to
really
contain
said
him.
that.
You said he said it.
Well, I was trying to make you feel good.
Fake news. Fake news. That's what the PA guy says. Fake news. Take a break. Colin Carmichael, head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls soccer team, joins us next as we continue with this week's Out of Bounds.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts. The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold, creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
America's friendliest college town has a lot to offer this November. Start your Christmas shopping, attend livestock events, and attend all kinds of OSU athletics. Looking for a peaceful getaway? Rent a cottage from Sparrow Beginnings, right here on Lover's Lane. There are 30 acres total for a stroll, a pond for fishing, and canoeing.
No, Mortimer, not that one.
Arsenic and Old Lace, our next show at Town and Gown Theater, runs November 14th through the 17th and the 21st through the 24th.
Join the Cowgirl Equestrian team on November 23rd to watch us take on South Carolina. Go Pokes!
Downtown Stillwater's holiday season is coming to life with the addition of Merry Main Street.
A combination of hospitality, music, retail, and art. It's an event the whole family will enjoy.
Crafts, cats, and sheep all in one place. The Payne County Expo Center has it all this November. Check out the Payne County Expo Center's website for a full list of exciting events. Don't miss a beat in America's friendliest college town. Check out our full listing of events at visitstillwater.org.
Formal Fantasy in the heart of downtown Stillwater provides everything you need for your formal occasion. We have dresses, shoes, and jewelry to make you stand out on your special day. We offer tuxedo and suit rentals right here in Stillwater. Our staff of expert seamstresses will alter your clothing to fit perfectly, saving you from going from store to store to get everything you need for your event. From school dances to weddings, Formal Fantasy at 121 East 9th in downtown Stillwater is your formal store.
If you haven't been to TS Fork at White Barn Estates lately, we have an exciting new concept to tell you about. It's called Thirsty Thursdays, and it includes 4 courses of the same high-quality food as our other nights, and some of the best mixed drinks you've ever had. Best of all, no reservations are required. And while you're there, relax with a drink on our covered patio and check out the gift shop with Made in Oklahoma products. Go to tsfork.com for more details and to check out our upcoming special menus.
Frontier Lanes is Stillwater's favorite family entertainment destination. Open 7 days a week, Ernie and the crew offers 16 lanes of bowling, but that's just where the fun begins. Knock down the pins to the sounds of your favorite tunes with our jukebox. The game room features pinball, pool, and exciting arcade games. And with a full snack bar, you can satisfy your thirst and get some of the best burgers and fries in town. Frontier Lanes near Airport Road at 3524 North Washington. Call 372-8584 and be sure to ask them about booking your child's next birthday party.
It's back. Stillwater High School football returns to TV 31. Be sure to catch every home game as the Pioneers look to return to the championship game. Stillwater High School football is brought to you by our friends at Tiger Drug. Also by Freddie Paul's Steakhouse. By Bank First. Also by Formal Fantasy. The Houck Agency for all of your insurance and real estate needs. By McDonald's. By Martin, Jean, and Jackson. Also brought to you by Harrison Electric, Legacy Oil and Gas, by Wendell Stevens Shelter Insurance, by Gigabytes, and by Charlie's Discount Drug. Catch Stillwater High School football on TV 31 Fridays, also streaming on TV31.net. Replays convene Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook as well. Catch it right here on TV 31.
Well, welcome back to the show, and joining us, a good friend, Colin Carmichael, the head coach, women's soccer, Oklahoma State, headed again to the NCAA tournament, and having a home game. I kind of said San Diego State early. It's not San, it's South Dakota State. So we want to make sure we correct what I said earlier in the show. 7 o'clock Friday.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's having this new stadium and the fan support that we have. I mean, I feel like we have a little bit of an obligation to get games like this in Stillwater, and to host a postseason game in the NCAA tournament on a Friday night. It's awesome. So yeah, we're excited.
Well, let's go back a little bit. I mean, nothing ever becomes to the point where you're not excited. Yeah. But I mean, the 5th time in the last 7 years. We're bragging on this one, 11 in the last 14.
Yeah.
Let's go to the announcement. Now you're sitting there, and I know it was late.
Yeah.
But there was never any question you were going to be in the tournament. That never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't. My heart was going a little bit, and I'm sitting next to kids who maybe haven't experienced it as many times.
Right.
And they get you excited because you can just sense their anticipation.
Swarming around
So that gets you fired up. And we all, you get reminders. Last year we had a reminder. We didn't make it, and that kind of humbles you a little bit, and you learn to maybe to continue to enjoy, because as a human being, you go to Elite Eight or you make it 4 years in a row, it does kind of lose a little bit of excitement. But it only takes 1 year to not be there, and all of a sudden you're like a little kid again. So we're trying our best to let these kids enjoy it, and certainly the coaches enjoy it.
You saying that reminds me of a story Gary Ward told me one time. We went 8 times in a row to College World Series, and just driving back in his truck one of those, and I said, what drives you guys? That's all you ever talk about. He said, I'll tell you what drives us is the fear of not going one year.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's no doubt. We talked to our team all this season. The kids who played last year, majority of those kids are back again. And we were so disappointed. And last year we had a bunch of other stuff go on with injuries. But either way, we didn't accomplish what we wanted. Mm-hmm. And we've talked to our kids all year about when we're in a big game, and I sense that maybe they're a little bit tense. I'm like, this isn't pressure. Mm-hmm. This should be fun. Pressure was last year, where you started losing and you had to win a game just to keep your season going. That's a little bit of pressure. So, let's embrace these good times. It's a different pressure, but it's excitement. And, we've stressed that to our team. You're going in to play Baylor to clinch the Big 12 championship. Right. Don't be nervous. Don't feel pressure. Feel excitement. The pressure, I feel more pressure in a game that we're supposed to win 5-0. Yeah. You can't lose that game. The other games, go enjoy them.
You always shoot straight. About where you thought you'd be seated? Were you surprised that you were the 3rd seed?
No. When I, like all coaches, we sit down and we look at the RPI and we do the math. And I felt like if we beat Kansas, we could have got a 2 seed. Mm-hmm. But when we lost that goal in double overtime, I felt like a 3 is probably where we belonged. We could have been bumped down to a 4 just as easily, just because it's a committee and you never know. But I felt like as far as our play and the results we've had, I think a 3 seed is very fair.
Okay, in the grand scheme of a bracket, I'm not sure how many of our fans, maybe myself, understand this kind of a bracket.
Yep.
What is the benefit? You got South Dakota State,
right?
And that's not we're not dissing on them, but a 3 seed should get a manageable first round game.
Yeah, we should, and that's probably a fair way to look at it. They'll be the underdog. I think that's fair to say. Mm-hmm. And we would, at home, expect to win that game. But we know we have to go prepare and get ready to play. So that's one of the benefits of getting seeded. The other benefit is if you're fortunate enough to advance, in round 2, you do not play one of the 16 seeds. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, you're not playing Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, UCLA until round 3. Now in the second round, you look at our bracket, if we advance, we play the winner of Cal against Santa Clara. Mm-hmm. Those are two teams that are as good as any seeded team, that's for sure, but you're avoiding the Carolinas and Florida States, and that might give you a better chance, I should say, to make the Sweet 16.
Now, it's kind of a funky-looking way to bracket people. You mentioned Cal Santa Clara, but you would have to go to USC if they win and have bid, and that we'll come back to that. If they bid for the regional, There'd be 2 games you have to play, right?
Right. So the first round is 64 teams, so 32 games, 32 host sites, 1 game. The 32 teams advance, and they're bracketed into 8 groups of 4. So the seeded teams, the top 8 seeds, they would host theoretically 4 teams. So 2 games Friday, 16 teams left. They play on Sunday, then you got your Elite 8. So that's how it works. The top 8 seeds would host unless if they get upset, then it drops to the next seed. And if they did not put in a bid to host those games, which I'm not sure why you wouldn't. Maybe if you have home football and you don't feel like you can host that big event, you would. But I would guess those 8 teams have probably submitted bids to host those games.
Yeah, and we're talking about USC in this case having bid because that's where the venue would be.
Right.
How would you would know that by now, would you? I mean, wouldn't that get out if not only them, this other team didn't bid as well? Would you know that?
I don't know. They might wait until after the round is over because they don't know who's advancing.
Right.
So we play Friday. If we're fortunate enough to win, then USC plays Cal State Fullerton Saturday. So we probably wouldn't know that until Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening would be my guess.
You think the overall top seeds, I mean, including yourself, fair the way they did it?
Yeah, I mean, you can always argue for sure. There's teams that probably feel slighted and other teams that maybe got a little bit more respect or recognition. Arkansas got a 3 seed. I thought they'd be a 2. You know, I'm not a big Arkansas fan in their style of play. However, what they've done throughout the year, I thought they deserved to get a 2. You know, BYU, they got a 2, and I thought they might be a 3. They're unbeaten, but they don't have the same RPI wins that Arkansas does.
What was your RPI just in?
We ended up 11. So, you know, like I said, a 3 seed's probably very fair for us. Penn State got a 4 seed, a team that we saw firsthand, but their RPI was like 23, and I was surprised that they jumped to that top 16. And Texas Tech got a seed, and I'm glad they did for the Big 12, but their RPI was around 19 or 20, so they had to jump a few teams to get that seed. So there's always teams that you feel like could have got treated better, but, you know, you're in, you get to keep playing. One of 64 teams that are still involved, and the other, you know, 280-something teams that we have are not playing, so we're fortunate.
Well, you've seen of late occasional number 1 seeds in the NCAA basketball tournament get beat.
Yeah.
Used to be, they never got beat. Now they could possibly get beat.
Yeah.
What about this soccer lineup? I mean, is everybody, as you see it, susceptible to getting beat if they don't play well? Or are there some that you go?
Yeah, they're still, because of our sport, and I think there's still a pretty big discrepancy from that top sort of 5. And if you go down to the, you know, automatic qualifiers from the small conferences, it's a huge gap.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think a 1 seed can lose at home. I just don't see it. I think when you get to round 2, they could. So I think once you get to the last 32 teams, I'm not saying a 1 seed would lose, but they could. You know, certainly the 2 seed in our bracket, Southern Cal, they would play the winner of Texas and A&M, which is a great first round game, by the way. But let's say that's A&M for argument's sake. A&M could beat Southern Cal. Texas could upset Southern Cal, and I think that would be the same throughout the bracket. So once you get past the first round, I think you do see not a lot, but more upset possibilities.
And we're not taking anything for granted. I mean, South Dakota State coming in figure right, hey, we got as bigger chances they do of advancing. So you're gonna have to take care of it on the pitch. But as you look, it's a different format. What you said, the last 5 years they changed it.
Something like that, 5 or 6, yeah.
Where you could have gotten 2 or 3 games in a row, right, in the previous format?
Right. So, and then maybe even 10 years, I can't even remember when they changed it, but the first round used to be first and second round, the first weekend, used to be first and second round, so instead of 32 hosts, you would have 16, and they would host 4 teams, so you'd play round 1 and 2, then you'd play 2 and 3, and then it would be a 1-game weekend. So, you know, there's good and bad there. For us this year, it would have been great because we would have hosted 2 games instead of 1 if we advance. But, you know, the positive there is you're spreading out NCAA soccer to more venues.
Sure.
So more campuses are getting to experience this. More kids are getting to play at home in the NCAA tournament, which is probably a good thing.
Now, we don't want you watching TV Friday night for sure, but in general, will there be TV exposure for this thing maybe better than it ever has been?
Yeah, there's the TV deal's not great, but everybody's streaming stuff now,
Yeah,
so
right,
it's all over digital. I know we're streaming it, and I would say 90% of the games will be streamed. The TV deal doesn't kick in, I don't think, until the Final Four in our sport, which is bizarre. You know, softball, you can kind of follow it round by round. But in our sport, they don't do that, and I think a lot of that has to do with NFL and college football being the same time. But you know, everybody streams stuff now anyway, so all our games stream for sure, and I would imagine most of them will be.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the opponent and also get a feel for where the Cowgirls are. I mean, they haven't been on the pitch for a while. They went in Kansas City, lost that game. We'll see where the Cowgirls really are heading into this one. We'll do that after this.
Harrison Electric in downtown Stillwater can handle any commercial or residential job with expertise. But don't take my word for it. These are actual Google customer reviews for Harrison Electric. When they make an appointment, they show up on time. Very professional employees who respect the client. They clean up after themselves and did an awesome job. Talked us through the plans with us and came up with the most economical plan for us. Very easy to work with on changes that came up. Highly recommend. So there you have it. The public has spoken. Call Harrison Electric at 372-7171 and see what everyone is talking about.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
The Hideaway since 1957. The Hideaway is famous for a lot of things, including their off-the-charts fried mushrooms, incredible service, unbeatable lunch specials, and of course the one-of-a-kind pizza. Stillwater's pizza tradition begins and ends here, from the big country to the pizza of the gods. And even the sizes are famous, from the mini personal to the big kahuna. Like us on Facebook for unique offers, lunch or dinner, dine in, pick up, or delivery. The Hideaway, 230 South Mount Block, or call 372-4777. More than a restaurant, it's a tradition.
Charlie's Discount Drug, where we know our customers by name. Oh, yeah. Charlie's Discount Drug.
Hard work, dedication, tradition, and proven results. That's Pioneer Football, and that's the law firm of Martin, Jean, and Jackson. That commitment to excellence has served the Pioneers for years, and it's done the same for Martin, Jean, and Jackson with over 100 years of combined experience in injury law. Martin, Jean, and Jackson has offices in Stillwater, Ponca City, Tulsa, and our new location in Oklahoma City. Our Stillwater office is conveniently located at 400 South Duck Street. Stop by our location or call us at 405-377-5000. Teams always strive to be their very best. That's the Pioneers, and that's Martin, Jean, and Jackson, attorneys at law.
We are back with Colin Carmichael again, really promoting and encouraging. Get on out there Friday night and watch the Cowgirls, South Dakota State, round one, hopefully round one of many rounds this year as you make your way through the tournament. You heard me kind of pitch it. Where are the girls? I mean, they're excited now, but the disappointment of Kansas City done? I mean, did you have to kind of rebuild a little bit?
No, not at all. Not with this group. You know, I think winning the regular season takes a little bit of that away.
Okay.
If we had not won a trophy in a ring prior to the tournament, I think it has more, not importance, it was still important to us, but a little bit more meaning. So when our kids lost to Kansas, they were upset because we felt like we were the better team.
Right.
And the way we lost late in overtime didn't sit well with them. But, you know, 2 hours later on the bus, those kids were moving on. Hey, who are we playing? Who we got? We're going to get seeded. So they're resilient. And like I said, if we hadn't won the trophy in the regular season, it might have stung a little bit more. But winning that trophy kind of gives you a little bit of leeway in the tournament, I think. And selfishly for us, I wanted to win the game, but our team's not deep, and so we got an extra 3 days rest. And I'm not sure how much we would have had for Sunday's final, to be honest with you. We just had a couple of kids beat up and some other kids who had played a ton of minutes that might not have had the same energy level. So getting home, getting rest over the weekend, getting to watch a selection show, I think our kids will be ready to work today at practice.
Where are you physically going into this one? You're not going to give away any injury reports, but are you okay? Or
We are. 3 weeks ago, we felt like we had the best depth we'd had all year. And of course, within 48 hours, we lost 2 kids. Leading scorer on the team, Grace Yoakum, went down, and then Siragusa, one of our defenders, went down. So, that set us back for sure. But since then, our kids have responded really well. So we've still got the same group. We just know we're not deep. And so we have to manage our practices and back off a little bit.
But you would have done that anyway.
We would. This time of year, I mean, you're not out there for 2 hours. You're just not.
Yeah.
We're out there for an hour and 15 tops, get our work in and go home. We're just a little bit more, protective. We have 2 kids who got a little bit hurt in the Kansas game. Well, they're going to get a couple extra days off, and they'll do rehab, do some bike, just get moving. And they'll train maybe Wednesday, Thursday to get ready instead of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Advantage, obviously, and we anticipate there'll be a bunch of people out there watching this game. That's got to be, like any sport, you got the home court, home field, whatever, that's got to be a lot of advantage to the kids out there. They got to see them in the stands knowing, hey, we got a responsibility here.
It is, and they talk about it. They understand that, and they love when they run out and, at the beginning of the game and the drum line's going and the Orange Outlaws are there and everybody's pumped up and the stands are full. I mean, the Baylor game's a great example. It was cold. It was difficult to get a crowd out there, but the crowd showed up and our kids responded. They were excited. Same with the Bedlam game. It was pouring down rain. I was thinking we'd be lucky to get 500. We had like 1,200.
I saw a sideline shot of you.
That was unbelievable.
I thought
miserable.
Do you have enough clothes on? I mean, you want me to bring a parka down?
You
for
could have. I tell you, I changed at halftime. The Bedlam game, I was drenched through, and at halftime I had to change everything. So.
Now you play this sport. You've coached it a long time. And these girls, it's amazing they can get out. Now, once you get running in the adrenaline, and I understand you warm up, but you never get that warm, I wouldn't think, do you?
No. I mean, our kids play in shorts. They might have a little long sleeve undershirt like this, but that's it. So in our sport, people think, soccer sometimes isn't as physical as like football and some other sports, but you get out there in that cold weather, and we don't get to wrap up in helmets and pads. We just T-shirt and shorts, and you play. And
it was chilly in Kansas City, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little chilly. Now, we had the afternoon game.
Yeah.
I would have hated to have that evening game when the sun went down. It was really cold.
How many teams got it? 3 out of the?
We got
4. Okay, I'm miscounting.
No, we got 6.
Who am I leaving out?
So we got the 3 seeds were Kansas, ourselves, and Tech.
Okay.
We got Texas, West Virginia, and TCU.
Okay, I forgot. Okay.
Wow. So we did great.
What does that do from a? Everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
But just from a family viewpoint, what does that do?
Well, I think we all understand that we need the league to be good for us all to be successful. We're friends with some of the coaches in the league, so you pull for them as well. But we need all our teams to be good. There's no question. And you look at, say, the ACC, they've got, I think, 16 teams, and their top 8 to 10 are excellent. Well, my point is, why can't our top 10 be excellent? And if you can get that every year, you might eat a few more losses, but your league's going to benefit and the competition's going to be great. So getting 6 out of 10, 60%, that's probably as good as a percentage as anybody else. The SEC got 5 out of 14. Pac-12, I think they have 14 teams now, maybe. So even if they got 7 or 8, we still had a better percentage. So it's great. It's a great reflection, and to get 3 teams seeded, shows the level of Big 12 soccer.
Well, obviously, the committee must think highly of the Big 12.
For sure.
And we push that. And sometimes, I've been on that side of the fence for many, many years where you're always singing the same hymnal, out of the same hymnal about your league, when in fact it really isn't. And we're not talking just soccer, anything. But it is good for everybody when there's a lot of success because it reflects on you.
It does, and we also have a responsibility as a league now to get teams into the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8.
Right,
We did it 2010 and 11. West Virginia made it to Elite 8 and then a Final 4 recently. Prior to us, A&M had done it, but we need more teams, you know, to get into that Elite Eight and Sweet 16, and that builds your credibility. You know, just getting seeded isn't enough. We need to make a run, because then people and recruits and club coaches and high school coaches are talking about us. And that can only benefit us all. So we'd love to be one of those teams, but if we can't do it, I'd love for Tech or Kansas or TCU to make a deep run. I think it'd be good for the league.
Take yourself out of this, because we're going to say that Oklahoma State is this team, but outside of OSU, who's the hottest team in the league right now going into the tournament?
Well, you probably have to say Kansas, just because of their run.
Just because they won?
Yeah, they had a good run in Kansas City. You know, prior to that, Texas Tech was on fire. They had a great season, and we pipped them to the championship. But, you know, all of our teams are capable. But, you know, I think the hottest teams, before we lost to Kansas, which, again, was double overtime with a minute left, we'd won 8 in a row. So we were feeling pretty good about ourselves, too.
Well, I was going to say, you know, we're biased here, but we wanted you to be objective if you could. All right, tell us about South Dakota State. What do we know?
We're learning. 15-4-3, I think, was the record. They won the I think it's the Summit League.
That's correct. Yeah.
ORU is in that league, so we have a little familiarity there. Denver are a very good team out of that league, and Denver win the league quite often. So for them to beat Denver was good. We've got some video on them. We've got, you know, the guys are scouting them right now, so we don't know their style of play. What I do know is I think they gave up less than 10 goals all season, and I don't care who you're playing against.
Really?
That is super impressive.
Wow.
So they're not getting scored on. Their goalkeeper's done a great job. They have a kid who scored 11 goals. So, you know, we'll treat them like every other team. You know, we'll treat them like a Big 12 game. And, you know, the only Big 12 game they played at K-State early and lost 2-0. And then they turned around and beat Minnesota from the Big 10 1-0. So, you know, they're a viable team. We'll treat them with the utmost respect, and we'll study them just like we do, and we'll break down video, and we'll be prepared.
Is it hard, and it is at every sport, especially if you get paired with somebody you don't know in another conference, but is it hard to find that video on them?
It used to be really hard in our sport because all the games weren't streamed. Yeah. Now there's so many games online that you can find them, pull them, and upload them into your system. So, you know, I'd say 10 years ago, yeah, you were going on verbal scouts, and now you can pretty much get video on everybody.
You know, you heard us, I think, when you arrived, talking about this proposal, you know, for Kansas wanting to go 30-20, you break it up.
Yep.
I don't know how far it's going to go. And I've never heard any other sports mentioned in the same breath with that, but kind of give us a little thumbnail of what you deal with as far as scholarships and what number you have to come to.
Yeah, so we have 14, our limit, our maximum by NCAA rule is 14 full scholarships. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a roster of about 28 to 30 kids every year. So clearly, not everybody's on a full scholarship. Your top kids, you know, your All-Americans, your international kids, they're pretty much getting everything paid for. Then you kind of go down and you may get a good player out of Texas. You may be able to give them like 70%, and maybe they supplement that with some academic aid. Now they're getting everything covered. Then you may get an in-state kid on a little bit less because the costs aren't as great for those kids. So maybe a good in-state kid's getting 50, 60%. And then you're filling out your roster with some kids that maybe are getting low money, but getting some high academic aid. So, you know, we have to divvy it up, and then of course you're going to have probably about 8 to 10 walk-ons every year that make up that number to about 28. So that's normal for us. Each year we're going to bring in, low number would be 2 or 3, high number 9 or 10. Average 5 or 6 kids a year is probably an average.
Do you have a number, like football's 85?
Yep.
Do you have a number like that you have to be?
No, we have a number that our administration would like us to hit every year, and it's 28.
But it's not an NCAA.
No, there's no NCAA limit like that. No, you have limits on travel squad in the Big 12. So if we have 35 kids, we might only be able to travel 28 or 26, depending on, you know, if it's an NCAA tournament game and whatnot. So 28's our number, and you know, it's manageable. We can only play 11 at a time. And so you do have some kids who don't play, and that can be quite difficult for them and their families and for us to manage. But, you know, most of the Power 5, because we have large rosters of football on the men's side, we got to offset that a little bit on the women's side.
Correct.
So the Power 5 on average, probably somewhere between 26 and 30. We're probably right at the average.
We want to emphasize, too, before we get out of here, I mean, very affordable ticket prices to this thing. I want to make sure I got this right. But, you know, 15 for reserve seating, 10 for general admission. 5 for general admission tickets available, 12 and under. But here's the part, and you're probably not going to tell me who it is, but I guess a donor has made it possible for Oklahoma State University students to get in free with a valid OSU ID. Now, that's a pretty good deal.
No, it's a great deal, and what that does is basically any ticket that's sold, we have to pay for. And so if we get 500 students out there at $5 a pop or $10 a pop, whatever they were charged normally, that means that that's going to be covered. So what we're trying to do is get the student section full. The student athletes on the other sports, they can't get in because it's an NCAA event.
Right.
But if it's free for all students, they can. So we're hoping that the baseball team are there and the basketball boys and wrestlers, because they make it rowdy out there. And bring some friends, and hopefully the students will come out in numbers, and that's the thinking behind that.
You sound excited, man.
I'm ready, man. It's NCAA tournament. We didn't get to do this last year, so I'm fired up for
that one
for the
year
games.
That makes you appreciate everything.
Totally makes me appreciate this. We didn't get to do this last year.
And I held that against you for a whole year right there, because you make it easy. We're gonna have this guy here for a number of weeks, so you be sure of that. And every time we jump ahead, we'll be talking about the next opponent, which is good. Thanks for coming down, bud.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Hey, we got it going here, hopefully for a long period of time. We always have it going with Casey. He's back after this.
Do you take multiple routine prescriptions for medical conditions such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, COPD, asthma, or arthritis? Are you tired of making multiple trips to the pharmacy each month to pick up refills of all your medications? Tiger Drug has a new, easy, convenient, and free synchronized refill program for you. We will work with your insurance so that your meds will all be available on your refill date so that there will be no waiting. Call one of our friendly staff members and ask how you can join the Synchronized Refill Program at 405-372-7900 or stop by at 825 South Walnut. And be sure to ask about our vaccination program. Tiger Drug in Stillwater, where the customer comes first.
Freddie Paul's Steakhouse in Bryan invites you to experience this Stillwater staple. Established in 2001 and armed with the best steaks in town, daily lunch buffet, and catering available, there is something for even your pickiest of family members. Homemade with love, they combine family recipes, a professional chef, and a dedicated staff to bring you a fantastic dining experience. Looking for something new to do with the family? Come check out Sky Golf Driving Range and take a few swings while enjoying full food and drink service. Freddie Paul's Steakhouse, where they believe you should always enjoy the exceptional flavor of what you're eating.
To our neighbors and friends, as we step boldly into a time of growth, our promise is that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities. Thank you for being the reason we love what we do.
Where do you go for computer help? Gigabytes. Gigabyte staff are experts in virus removal, software updates, and faster running computers. Gigabytes also provides small business support and network support, including websites. And they do laptop screen replacements, and they do all kinds of cosmetic repairs as well. Whatever your computer needs, they are the ones that can provide you with the answers and solutions to get you up and running. Gigabytes, 918 South Main, open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, or call 533-1715.
Life beyond the gravitational pull of the city requires a can-do attitude. It takes versatility to accomplish all that needs to be done, and enough power to never get in over your head. The Kubota L-Series tractor pulls up its bootstraps, hooks up to its many attachments, and gets the job done right. That's why it's the #1 selling compact tractor in America.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs, from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts.
Okay, welcome back, and good stuff with Colin as they are about to make a run to the Final Four and eventually potentially a championship. No pressure there in that.
Like I told him, this is kind of a tradition. Now he'll be in this chair as long as they keep going, and we don't want to be the reason that they don't keep going. So we're starting it out right now, So we're anticipating he's going to be in this chair for the next three or 4 weeks.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because that's a run to the championship.
It's kind of a tradition here.
First sanctioned NCAA sport at Oklahoma State to win a national championship. Now, equestrian is in there, but they're just not in.
When's that going to happen? Ever?
Boy, I think they're getting closer. I really do. I
I
know they're
hope
working
so.
extremely hard on that. Hey, speaking of working extremely hard, real quickly, we're about out of time. Couple of segments here, but basketball, Cowgirls this week, midweek, going to Tulsa. And that is my understanding is going to be an every-year deal now. Tulsa, and that's kind of among the administrators have said, well, let's get Tulsa and let's play Tulsa for each schedule. So that's interesting. That's out there. Cowgirls have played pretty well. Still haven't shot the ball well, but they're athletic. They're big. And who knows what's on tap for this team. For the men, Tom, obviously, again, a team that is very athletic, and they're almost identical to the Cowgirls. Bringing back good talent, brought in an influx of really good athletes, and started slow like teams do this time of year.
Yeah, I don't know what you can get out of the Oral Roberts, and of course, the Oral Roberts had to win down the stretch in the last minute, and then you were vastly better than Kansas City. I mean, that's why we brought them in. But taller, more athletic, and you could see, I mean, we had something 42 points in pain or whatever it was. I mean, it wasn't even a contest in that area. But you're right. The question on the men's side is how are they going to bring in 3 or 4 or 5 guys and move them, mesh them into a lineup and a rotation, if you will, with the core guys. And right now, they're still figuring that out, and probably will, quite frankly, maybe till they get to New York, and maybe they'll have a better handle. To bring you up to date on Rusink, he hurt his knee, and it's a sprain. It looked a lot worse in the game. I mean, it was a lot of people holding their breath. It was worse than that. But he's got the long sleeve on his knee. He probably could play if there was a major game. But I think they're going to, long story short, they're going to hold him out for Charleston and probably bring him back for Yale on Sunday.
And real quickly, Cowboys got some good recruiting news. Lost out on a couple, but things overall really good right now for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, you can't get them all. I mean, Walker you got Cunningham. They were trying to get the 3-bagger and get Bryce Thompson, and he, today, as we went on the air, he committed to Kansas. No surprise there because of his dad and Bill, they go back a long, long way, and Kansas is still formidable. I don't care how much people negative recruit about them, and who knows what's going to happen to them in the near future. But when you go to Kansas and you go to Allen Fieldhouse and you watch a game, which he did, and I'm not saying this is the reason, but he was here against Kansas City, and there were at best 4,000 people, at best in the arena. He goes up there 2 nights later, maybe the next night, to Lawrence, and they're playing UNC Greensboro, okay, and there's not a seat to be had. So, I mean, that thing could sway you, but I think the familial connection between Bill and his dad and Kansas, I mean, I'm not surprised at all.
So there you go, and so for Cowboy football this weekend, got Kansas. You got a final. You want to predict a final?
Well, a lot to not too much.
49-31. I think they're going to score.
You think they're going to score 31 points?
I think they'll score on Oklahoma State.
Christmas.
Yeah. But I think Oklahoma State still dominates it, wins it going away.
And maybe maybe kind of a paltry 30. I mean,
yeah,
not a threatening 31.
Sure. No, exactly.
Okay.
No, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're in it, but I do think they'll score a couple of times. So. Take a break. Wrap it up right after this.
Frontier Lanes is Stillwater's favorite family entertainment destination. Open 7 days a week, Ernie and the crew offer 16 lanes of bowling, but that's just where the fun begins. Knock down the pins to the sounds of your favorite tunes with our jukebox. The game room features pinball, pool, and exciting arcade games. And with a full snack bar, you can satisfy your thirst and get some of the best burgers and fries in town. Frontier Lanes near Airport Road at 3524 North Washington. Call 372-8584 and be sure to ask them about booking your child's next birthday party.
Charlie's Discount Drug, where we know our customers by name. Oh, yeah. Charlie's Discount Drug.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
If you haven't been to TS Fork at White Barn Estates lately, we have an exciting new concept to tell you about. It's called Thirsty Thursdays, and it includes 4 courses of the same high-quality food as our other nights, and some of the best mixed drinks you've ever had. Best of all, no reservations are required. And while you're there, relax with a drink on our covered patio and check out the gift shop with Made in Oklahoma products. Go to tsfork.com for more details and to check out our upcoming special menus.
It's back. Stillwater High School football returns to TV 31. Be sure to catch every home game as the Pioneers look to return to the championship game. Stillwater High School football is brought to you by our friends at Tiger Drug. Also by Freddie Paul's Steakhouse. By Bank First. Also by Formal Fantasy. The Houck Agency for all of your insurance and real estate needs. By McDonald's. By Martin, Jean, and Jackson. Also brought to you by Harrison Electric. Legacy Oil and Gas. By Wendell Stevens Shelter Insurance. By Gigabytes. And by Charlie's Discount Drug. Catch Stillwater High School football on TV 31 Fridays, also streaming on TV31.net. Replays convene Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook as well. Catch it right here on TV 31. Well, we're out of time, but as we say goodbye, first off, congratulations to Stillwater Pioneers. Another undefeated season, another district championship, another conference championship, undefeated at home, all of those things. They get ready for Sapulpa on Friday night, 7:30. The kickoff will come on air at 7 o'clock. Excited about this team. They will get ready for, if they win this, and it should be a landslide.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
How far can your TV go into the? Can you do every game in the playoffs?
We can do semifinals. Potentially do semifinals. We can do playoffs, quarterfinals at home. Then they go neutral sites. If there's a feed there, we can potentially do that game. The championship game goes to somebody, Oklahoma City or Tulsa. So, but we're going to be there as far as we can, and so some great stuff there. And it looks like they're headed back to a championship game with Bixby. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sunday on the Jukebox?
Oh, my goodness. This is the one you've been waiting on, the Staff Sunday.
It's about stinking time.
Hey, and we're going to find out. Just as
White Sports Code. Wasn't even on my list.
You're going to know, after Sunday, you're going to think a lot differently about Casey
exactly.
Kendrick.
You're going to think I'm more grizzled.
Because he's got no sensitivity in his public persona, but his musical taste, they'll tell you, he's a completely different guy.
I'm a chameleon. I can listen to anything. Hey, we want to say thanks to Coach Carmichael for being here. We appreciate you guys tuning in. For Tommy D, I'm Casey Kendrick. Have a great week. See you next time right here on Out of Bounds.